Welcome. Today I'm going to be talking about the research for digital storytelling. The first thing that we have to talk about is what is storytelling. Digital storytelling is telling a story through that of digital medias, an example, photographs, videos, or short movies, documentaries. Digital storytelling usually convenes to certain conventions of media and traditional storytelling. Digital storytelling usually holds a message behind the overlaying movie, whether this is a story or message of great significance, or that of something slightly smaller. It is always prominent within the piece. Now, how could a narrative be constructed through digital storytelling? One of the key ways to construct a narrative in digital storytelling is to choose a subject or theme that holds itself. This allows for the story to build itself and shape rather than having to force a story or narrative out of something that isn't there. There are also other ways to help build the narrative. You can do this by adding extra material such as images and videos. This, instead of pushing the narrative, helps to just further the story. Now, we need to discuss how digital storytelling differs from that of traditional storytelling. Though similar, both have their differences. Traditional storytelling is most often a fictional story where the characters are living with no recognition of the camera, whereas digital storytelling is much more in a documentarian style, in that the camera is acknowledged and things such as interviews and direct narration addressed to the viewer are in the foreground of the style. One of the first pieces I'm looking at is Proximity by Ryan Connolly. This is a example of traditional storytelling. The short movie by Ryan Connolly, released back in December of 2013, is an example of traditional storytelling narrative and follows both Todorov and Props theory. In the beginning of the equilibrium, 4 people have been kidnapped and drove out to a field or forested area. In an attempt to get away, 2 of the 4 run, but soon become separated, thus triggering an ankle bomb activated by proximity to one another or lack thereof. Seeing all this happen, the 2 guards leave in pursuit to execute those who have fled. While with the other 2 still by the truck, one still unconscious, the one that witnessed all this happen, the protagonist, picks up the other and flees the area. This is the equilibrium and the disequilibrium, as the protagonist learns of what is to come, and in turn sets him on his path to come full circle, with himself now as the guard creating the new equilibrium. Throughout the story, the director Ryan Connolly has purposefully left out information about what has happened, how and why, to try and stimulate the viewer's imagination and make them think about, for example, the ankle shackles. Though as you watch, you eventually figure out the use and purpose of them. Some of the key features of this piece is the color scheme that has been used. The movie has been deliberately desaturated to give a more rugged, darker style or characteristics to the piece, accompanied by the cinematography being shaky and very handheld. This only adds to the style of it. This story follows a direct narrative flowing in a very linear line. The next example is a NFB interactive documentary produced on a website called Bear71. This follows the story of a bear who was dubbed Bear71. It was designed to show the movement and life of the captured and released dubbed Bear71. This is a non-linear narrative story. It showcases the life and story of Bear71 through an interactive website that allows you to experience and choose the information that you want to view. While it gave a sense of freedom with choice, making this a lot more interesting to look at, it followed a single-line narrative played through voiceovers from the POV perspective of Bear71, along with short videos and photos. Within this, I very much like the interactivity of it and how it allows you to progress as you want while still delivering the same message to all the viewers. This is a prime example of digital storytelling, as it differs and varies so much from traditional storytelling in that in this there is a lot of extra material such as voiceovers directed at the viewer. While this can be found within traditional storytelling or movies, it is more common within digital storytelling such as documentaries. Another key factor showing the difference is that this is delivered through a website with a variety of interactive sequences, videos, pictures, and dialogues, whereas traditional storytelling is most commonly delivered through a book or a movie of sorts. The majority of footage used within this is from trail cams that caught sight of Bear71 and other such videos. throughout, they keep to a strict design brief and theme in order to keep continuity throughout and help set the underlying tone of the piece. They also achieved this with the use of colour, with the majority being blacks, greys and white, whilst the colours that did not stick to this were colour neutral and desaturated. Accompanying all of this and contributed a lot towards the final outcome of the piece was the sound design. An example, the music tracks that were played, voiceovers and any other such ambient or atmospheric noise. The third example is something called Welcome to Pine Point by The Goggles. Pine Point was a web documentary made in 2011 by director Michael Simmons and Paul Shoebridge. This piece focuses on the life and decline of an area known as Pine Point, a former mining community in the Northwest Territories of Canada. In order to make this, they got in contact with former residents of Pine Point in order to get both video pieces, photographs and interviews. This is an example of digital storytelling with a range of multimedia. Apart from those already listed, they also attained voiceovers by a variety of people, characters, and music. This was all then displayed and presented on an interactive multimedia website that follows a baseline story, while still including the integrity, the viewer audience with the story piece. The soundtrack used in this was very important as it was used to set the whole pace and theme of the digital story. Written and produced by Besnard Lakes, the majority of media used within the digital story was second-hand or found footage. From the former residents, this helped to make the viewer feel a lot more involved, as it was like something that they could have taken, integrating the viewer into the story. Most of the colour used within the digital story were colour neutral and desaturated, so that it would add to the feel of the story, being that of decline and deprivation. Using these colours also helped to connotate and foreshadow the outcome of the location, being Pine Point. These were just 3 examples of traditional and non-traditional digital storytelling. Thank you.